We're here.
What up, everybody? This is Rama Screen covering movies, TV, and entertainment. And I just saw a wonderful film called Mail Order Monster. And I'm here with the co-writer and director of the film, Paulina Lagudi. Congratulations on the film.
Thank you so much. It was a lot of fun.
Now, this reminds me a lot of, I don't know, The Iron Giant or E.T., you know, that heartfelt relationship between child and creature or robot or other being. What's the inspiration behind the story? I know you co-wrote it with somebody, right?
Yeah, actually, so the film was actually written by someone else, Mark Prey, and when I actually ended up buying the script because I loved the title Mail Order Monster. But the way the story was written, I didn't really relate to it that much because I grew up in a blended family. So a lot of family movies from the past, like The Iron Giant, E.T., I really gravitated towards because they were about families that weren't your typical family. I have a stepmom, and she came into my life kind of later. And what I found with typical family movies is step parents were often painted as step monsters or the bad person. So I wanted to make a step parent positive movie. So I had to play on the word mail order monster, and I'm like, oh, it spells out mom. So I really leaned into that. So I kind of took the script and made it more relatable to myself, and a lot of it's taken from my own life, actually. So that was something that I found it was a lot easier for me to make the film relatable to others by making it more specific to me.
Now, I'm a little bit ahead of myself here. Is this your feature directorial debut?
This is, yeah. So, oh, man, it was a lot. So, I wrote, I directed, I produced it. It was a lot to do for your first time. Worked with kids in Kentucky, in a very small town in Kentucky. So I did a lot of the things that they tell you never to do for your first time film. We built a monster. I mean, we did a lot. We shot for 17 days, so it was very fast. And when you're working with a kid, especially with SAG rules, you can't have them on set for a full 12-hour day, like you can with adults. So, I mean, we were shooting like 13 scenes in 8 hours almost every day. It was very fast. But I learned a lot, and yeah, it's my directorial debut. But honestly, I couldn't have done it without my team. My fiance is also the DP, and it was his DP debut as being the main unit. So we really did approach this together as a team.
Well, for a feature directorial debut, it turned out really well. This one, yeah. So, acting, directing, producing, screenwriting. That's a lot of hats. Which one do you like wearing more or most?
I really like directing a lot. I mean, I love, I started, I was a dancer growing up, competitive dancer, and then, I broke my foot and I didn't know what I was going to do. And so right before college, the acting opportunity opened up for me. And so I took that route. And as I delved into acting, I found I really loved storytelling. That was my favorite. And I love telling people what to do more than being told what to do. So it was really fun for me I actually went into producing and writing first and then went into directing. And since directing, I feel like I've really come into my passion. I love all aspects of it. I love the team aspect of it. I don't like wearing all the hats. I think it's, a collaborative forum for a reason. But directing has been a lot of fun for me to really take all the different aspects of my life, from dance and from acting and, all these different things you go through as a person. You really get to put that out there and find a use for it when you're creating a story.
Now, the mail order monster herself, this robot, the design is very interesting. I think she has dreadlocks and one eye bigger than the other. Could you talk a bit about coming up with that design? Did you go through different versions?
This is actually a really fun question. So the season 9 winner of the sci-fi makeup competition show Face Off, so it's the special effects makeup competition show. Season 9 winner is Nora Hewitt, and we got in contact with each other, and she helped we designed this monster together. A lot of it was we were coming up with this idea that if someone had an old vintage comic book, right, that is from years and years and years ago, and they're gifted it, and there used to be on vintage comic books, you would get these little ads to like build your own life-size monster or build your own life-size superhero. And our whole backstory was this place, Merlin's Emporium of Monsters and Magic, where like it's a rundown place. They've kind of gone out of business. They're just piecing together scraps and sending it off to people if they send in this ad. So we wanted to have this very Iron Giant-y type feel, but a very mishmash feel. Like there's bits that were kind of just thrown in. They found scraps of things and put it together. And Madison Horcher, who plays Sam, she's kind of finding things and putting it together as well. So things are a little bit awkward. So that was the inspiration behind that.
And that was like you got that down on the first draft. I mean,
Oh no. That was a really fun process. So we first went through and talked about our backstory on this monster and some aspects that we wanted to achieve, and then she had someone draw up a draft. And then from there, we would just make tweaks to the drawing. And then the final drawing is actually up on the film's website, and that's the monster that you see on the homepage. And then she built it from that drawing.
that is awesome. I love that
Really
story.
cool. It's a really cool process. I mean, obviously, I'd never been through that process before of designing a monster, so that was really fun. And the voice of the monster is me, by the way.
Nice.
Yes.
I like that.
Yes.
Now, talk a bit about the cast. Josh, Charisma, right, and Madison.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, plays Sam. Talk about how they got on board this project.
Absolutely. So Madison's a really fun topic because I mean the movie's on her back, right? She's the lead and she's just so incredible. We held auditions all across, so we had a lot of live auditions here in LA, and we also saw tapes across the country as well. And when Madison came in, I kind of just knew from the get-go that she was it, but I still called her back, and it was something I did that was a little bit different. Apparently different. I thought it was what people do, but is on the callbacks. I had the actors come in and do their reading, and then I brought in the parents afterwards and interviewed them on their own because I was like, it's my first time dealing with kids. I'm going to be in the middle of nowhere. I need to make sure whatever parents I'm bringing are going to be supportive and not an issue. Madison has the best family, and I just knew like in my gut that she was right and she had the right look and everything I was kind of going for. And then Charisma and Josh were so great because Charisma, she has a son and she's a single parent, and she's from Vegas actually, and I'm from Vegas, and like we connected on a lot of levels and some really deep levels as well. And she reminded me so much of my stepmom. Actually, I remember after I met her, I like cried. I think I cried when we were talking too, and she reminded me so much of my stepmom. And Josh was a really cool choice because he has a natural dad quality about him. He's a really natural dad look, but he also has a quality about him that's very interesting. He's not your typical like Brady Bunch dad. He's got some, he's got an edge to him that I really liked that, you wouldn't typically think that you'd want in a family movie, but, this dad has been through some trauma, and this dad is trying to figure things out, and he doesn't have it all right, and he's, a guy in a small town that probably is a bit of a black sheep. And so I thought Josh, who's, such a collaborative actor, he really embodied all those things, and it was a team effort really bringing that character together for him as well.
Madison is such a fantastic young actress. Like she really, in this movie, she really digs deep, and she makes it seem so effortless. I mean, as a director, how did you kind of helm or direct her to tap into those emotions?
Yeah, I mean, she has them on her sleeve. That's the great thing about working with kids is that they really just have those emotions there, and it's just a matter of you almost stepping back and letting them do their thing, but creating that environment that makes them feel comfortable to do that. At the end of the day, it's like with all actors, if they don't feel safe in an environment to do that, it's going to be a lot harder for them to tap into that. But for kids especially, like I said, I got really lucky with Madison. She's just so incredible. But what I really loved about her, she really just understood this character. And we had a lot of great conversations about that. And she didn't have a lot of time to get into that place, which was cool. A lot of these scenes, it's like 2 takes, 3 takes, boom, moving on, so she would have to get there really fast and do it the same way every time. And there's the scene where the monster comes to life. Before that, when she's in this tool shed and she's smashing, that's all 1 take. And I'm actually there with her. You obviously don't see me on camera, but I'm there with her, and we're going through, and we were like crying together, and we're like going through this whole thing together. And it was funny, I'd not to compare myself to Spielberg, I'm going to disclaim this, but there's a really cool documentary, the Spielberg documentary on HBO, and he talks about, he did this with Drew Barrymore in E.T., where when she has that really emotional scene, he was essentially like talking her through it at the same time she was acting it. And I was like, oh my gosh, I did that with Madison in Mail Order Monster. And it was a really cool experience to go through that with a kid. But Madison really, she really has it at the surface. She can just turn it on, turn it off. She's a professional to, the nth degree.
I gotta ask you about the comic inspired animation part of this film. It happens twice, I believe, right? The beginning and
It
the end.
happens. It happens in the beginning and the end in big forms, but it
Yeah.
happens a couple times in the middle when she has the little flashbacks of her mom. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So the comic animation that's actually in the script.
Mm.
Um, my thought behind it is, I want to tell an emotional story, but sometimes with family films, you got to really kind of walk that fine line because, you still want to be a family movie and not a drama with kids, because that's a thing when it comes to sales and also to kids being able to understand it. And I was like, animated films really can talk about some dark, deep stuff because they're animated. And the comic element is big just in the story, the fact that she has the comic book and this, girl is very into comics.
Mm.
So I wanted to my I guess my thing that I did was everything that had to deal with the mom who had passed is told in a comic book, essentially animation, in a comic book series because it is a little bit darker and it is a little bit deeper and emotional, and so I wanted to be able to still tell that but in a way that is safe, which is through the comics.
Yeah, yeah. And so, who was the artist?
Yeah, so the artist is someone that Robert, my fellow producer, he did Billy Boy as well.
Okay.
He put us in contact with Matthew Simon Meadows, and he's a professional storyboard artist based out of the UK. And he did all of the, I think, storyboarding for Kick Ass. He's a phenomenal storyboard artist. So actually, we gave him his feature film like on screen debut because all of his stuff, I mean, it's everywhere on major commercials and videos, but it's never seen on screen because it's the storyboard. So he was really excited to work on this and have it be something that's going to be seen on screen.
Well, last question on this topic. Like, are you gonna consider directing an animated project in the future, or?
That's really interesting. I would be so down to do an anime. It's funny because like all my past work, I never thought I would do a family movie for my feature film debut. And what's interesting is all the stories that I kind of find myself gravitating towards, in work that I'm writing now is I wouldn't say it's always family driven, but it's always subjects around the family and around a kid. Just because I feel like that's so much in our formative years, that's where a lot happens, a lot that, essentially influences the rest of our life. And I think what's so fun about animated films is really the possibilities are endless. Like the worlds that you get to create are a lot of fun. So I would be Disney, Pixar. I'm down. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, the bullying part of this film, I gotta ask you, between PJ, the character PJ, and Sam, there were some tough moments, tough words exchanged between them. I was wondering, were there any time during, maybe the writing part or the shooting part that you probably wanted to pull back a little bit, or was it intentional from the very beginning that you wanted to have that intensity between them be that strong?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I actually grappled with that. I grappled with kind of reining it back a little bit, but every time I did, it never landed the way it needed to because you have to think about it. What Sam does after after those moments where they exchange those words has to be big enough to justify her going through what she does. You know what I mean? Getting the monster, putting it in her life. You know what I mean? All those things. And girl bullying is very interesting. I mean, it's not always typical bullying. There's a lot of ostracizing that goes on. And I found, even in my own life when I grew up, a lot of the times girls who were the bullies the most they were friends when they were younger. And you're at that age where, okay, trauma happened. So there's a riff. One has family issues. The other one has family issues. One goes through puberty first. The other one's down here. This one gets boy attention and all popular. This one gets left behind all of a sudden. So because they know each other so well, they're able to dig at each other so much deeper. It's kind of like how you fight with your family so much worse than anyone else in your life because you know those buttons that you can push. So with them, it's very similar in that way, which is why it was so important for me for that to be discussed, throughout the movie is that like there are no good and bad characters. Everyone's just gray and everyone's coming from a place of, a bit of pain and wanting to everyone's just coming from a perspective that sometimes is misunderstood. And that's essentially what the movie's about. So that way someone, if they are being bullied or they have a bully, they can kind of see it from different angles and then we can have a conversation about, how we cannot bully and how we can become friends again. But yeah, to get back to your question, it was something I grappled with. I decided to make the bold choice just because it felt like it justified Sam's actions a little bit more for what follows.
And that goes actually with my next question, because there were moments when the mail order monster, the robot, whenever PJ's name is mentioned or the stepmom comes into the picture, where she feels, I guess defensive, or she feels like she needs to attack. I feel like that those parts were bordering into horror a little bit. Like, wow, it's gonna get scary a little bit here. Talk a bit about approaching that tone.
Well, that's kind of similar to, that's our little bit of our ode to the Iron Giant, a little bit. Iron Giant, it's programmed essentially to be a weapon. And so it kind of has its triggers. But what's different about this character is it comes to life in a very spiritual way. It has the necklace that Sam's mom gave, and when Sam puts it on and the lightning and all the things, it essentially embodies this very mama bear protective quality. And that's essentially what that is that every time these things that Sam has said are bad, or these people that Sam has said are causing these problems in her life, that's when the mom attacks. And Sam, through having to teach the robot that that's not true, ends up really teaching herself that these people aren't bad people. There's just, people's intentions just sometimes are misinterpreted.
Independently making this film, what were some of the challenges and joys that come with it? I'm guessing budget is always a problem, right?
Oh yeah. Did I mention 17 days? Yeah, independent. Yeah. Time is money. Independent filmmaking is, man, it's a sport. It's an active sport for sure. The challenges, are the obvious challenges. Yes, time, money, location of where we shot brought so many great aspects. But there are challenges that come with when you shoot somewhere that's considered a little bit more remote. We shot in Kentucky because they have had a phenomenal tax incentive, and where we shot, we could get great locations for a lot less. So there's always a toss up of those types of things. But the good thing about independent filmmaking is this: I don't have to answer to anyone. Right. So I really got to make a movie where I said, if it sucks, it's because I made it suck. You know what I mean? But if it's great, I can say that, I really made sure my voice came through with that. And there's no one I can put the blame on, which I thought was very important. I think it's important for people to experience in their life, whether it's, a short film or a feature or whatnot. But there definitely were some times where I could have called up a studio head or something and be like, please take care of this problem for me so I don't have to. So yeah, that's hopefully we're not always independent filmmaking forever, but it definitely is something that I enjoy.
So there's this friendship theme, there's this parent to child theme. What is it exactly that you want the audiences to take away?
The movie is, in its core, it's a blended family movie, right? It's pro step parent, and I often use, at the very end, Sam, there's this whole theme of like, I choose you. And we're doing this little campaign for the movie right now where step parents and step kids are sending in their I choose you letters, which are essentially love letters to each other, because that's something that's so different from, typical families, is that there's this unconditional love of just, you were born to me. And this is different. You're really choosing the people in your life. And, whether that's a family member or not, I think, that idea of like, I choose you is really important, I think, for kids to understand, and this idea of like, I'm letting go of the past and I choose you for my life right now. I really want people to take away that, we can all have a conversation as a family after this movie and see where other people are coming from. At the end of the day, when you're a kid, everything seems so black and white. But it's really very gray, There's sometimes, your parents upset you, but they're not bad people, They just upset you because of this, and they don't like you sometimes because of this, that, and the other. And so I really hope people can understand when they watch it. It should be watched as a family. That it's really just about understanding that life is gray, and sometimes there's just good intentions taken the wrong way, and not good and bad people.
Here's a fun question, more like a fan service question that I'm a big fan of the movie now. So now that production's over, the movie's coming out to the general public. Where do you keep the mail order mom? Do you have her in an exhibit somewhere behind?
So this is going to sound terribly morbid. I have the head. The body's in the attic of my parents' house. I'm actually you're gonna find the mail order monster head on Instagram stories around like random places in LA. Just watch. It's in the back of my car right now because I want to do some fun stuff with it for social media. I think the head's really cool. It's entirely made out of fiberglass, and the lights turn on, and the eyes actually turn. It's all entirely practical. The jaw moves and everything. But the body's in my parents' attic. Yeah.
That looks like a collector's edition right there.
Yeah, it's like Mail Order Monster, the horror movie, part 2. Yeah.
So, where can my fans see the movie? When is it?
So November 6th, it's released on streaming platforms. So that will be iTunes, Amazon, Google Play, Vudu, all the Microsoft outlets, In Demand. I think Vubiquity is another one. So it'll be there. If you follow us on social media, I'll definitely be posting all the places that it is. And then in 2019, it kind of gets a bit of a second release because we're going to be somewhere pretty recognizable and cool.
Cool. Can't wait to see it. Last question. What are you working on next?
So from this movie, I actually got hired to write a family movie, which was a lot of fun. But it's a true story, which is cool because I've never done that before. But it's really fun. And then I'm writing my own kind of passion project feature film also, which is, family kid based, but not family genre. It's definitely more kind of thrillery a little bit. It's a little darker for sure, but I'm always working on, I'm always working on stuff.
And where can my fans find you online? I want them to follow you.
Yeah, I mean, Instagram's a big one, as a filmmaker. So at Paulina Lagudi, but you can also find me, get to that eventually through at Mail Order Monster on Instagram, on Facebook. I'm the only Paulina Lagudi in the world, I believe, from Google. So you'll just Google my name and you'll find me. And the website's mailordermonstermovie.com.
Paulina, this is such a wonderful movie. I loved it. Congratulations on Mail Order Monster, and thank you again for your time.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
We're here.